of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Liberia. Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for being available for this press briefing. We thought it very important as a team that we use this opportunity, and so we thought it important to share that with you today in hopes that the information that we share will give you more insight into the workings of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I'm joined today by Deputy Ministers, Councillor Green and Dr. Ibrahim Nye. Very important for people to understand that. It's important for people to understand that from the time President Walker was elected President of the Republic of Liberia, one of the first things was to make a trip to the United States. He went to Washington, D.C. He met the State Department, and he articulated Liberia's interest going forward in deepening the relationship between Liberia and the United States. And I think this is important for people to understand. The President's vision, and he being the chief architect of our foreign policy, his vision started way before inauguration. And from the time of his election, he was very clear about us as Liberia repositioning ourselves, taking our place in the community of nations. And Liberia comes back to that place that she used to have in terms of global prominence. And so that work is the work that's external, but it's also internal as well. The President, as our chief architect of our foreign policy, last year in February, he endorsed, which I shared when I first took over as Minister of Foreign Affairs, the vision for economic diplomacy. Economic diplomacy being about trade and investment, noting that the private sector is very important to create jobs for our young people, to create jobs for the jobless, and that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs role should be to reach out and invite other countries, other investors into Liberia, that Liberia is looking for business, while those who are responsible for the work of trade and investment carry out that work, to carry out that message. In repositioning Liberia and ensuring that Liberia takes her place in the Committee of Nations, one of the things we did was to follow through on the bid for the UN Security Council. Now that's a very important step. And what we did as a new administration was to shape a campaign, to formulate a campaign strategy, and to move out. As the voting happens at the place of permanent reps in New York, and through the decisions of presidents and foreign ministers. And so our campaign targeted presidents and foreign ministers. Our president himself made some campaign efforts. We ourselves, I made campaign efforts. Former foreign ministers made campaign efforts, visited capitals and so forth. And as you know, Liberia did not only get the minimum vote. This is the first time in Liberia's history that she's been able to get the full mandate of the UN General Assembly to sit on the UN Security Council in a permanent seat. The first time we sat there was for only 1 year, and it wasn't because we won the confidence or got the votes. We could not obtain the 2/3 majority votes that were required. And so because of that, we never won the seat, but the seat was split between us and Ireland 1 year each after weeks of voting. The second thing we did after winning the Security Council seat, what we continue to do is to engage, continue to engage, because the Security Council seat now provides us a lever that we did not have before. Because of the Security Council seat, we saw that this year's UN General Assembly, the engagements that were required from Liberia were overwhelming. And I want to thank all of the ministers of government who were part of the President's delegation to the General Assembly, all of the deputy ministers who were there with us, who participated. We had a load of over 130 engagements between the President, myself, and all of the ministers and deputy ministers, and the permanent rep for Liberia. And that is 4 times more than what we had, or 3 times more than what we had in 2024 UN General Assembly engagement. Astronomical growth in terms of engagement because of the UN Security Council seat. Everyone wanted to know our position, everyone wanted to know where we stand, and wanted to engage on their agendas and on their issues. In fact, we could not even complete all of those engagements. Some of them, we had to go to the capitals, had to go to Serbia to complete that engagement, and Zoom calls and so forth, because the engagements for Liberia now are so much. And this is where the President has said he wants us to be. He wants us to be back where we used to be before our conflict, and he wants us to be at a position where Liberia is not a problem for the world, but Liberia is a problem solver for the world, and Liberia is part of the solution. And that's where the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the deputies, assistant ministers, the ambassadors in these different countries, all of us working together with our colleagues in cabinet and within the national, all of us working together to really lift Liberia to where Liberia should be. And the meeting at the White House, again, did not just come as an event. Like I said, the president was there when he first took over, when he first was elected. But also I've had subsequent engagements here at home. We have had more engagements during the Security Council. You saw, I think, May 31st, you remember, I was at the State Department with Christopher Landau, the Deputy Secretary of State. I was there for our last campaign pitch, our last campaign discussion, but that discussion was very deep, and we discussed, mutual issues of immigration, migration, discussed issues of economic diplomacy and commercial diplomacy. And as you know, the United States, when President Trump took over, has started their foreign policy thrust of commercial diplomacy, which we started last year, economic diplomacy, where ours is trade and investments, and theirs is primarily trade. But we align, our foreign policies align, and so that was very interesting for the United States to see that our foreign policies align. That meeting was very fruitful, thanks to Ambassador Conte as well, who joined me. And from that meeting, the next step was then the president's meeting with President Trump. The president met President Trump in July. As you know, he was one of 5 heads of state in the White House. And in that meeting, I want to use this opportunity to say something that the world doesn't know. That meeting, across the table was President Trump and his team. From the State Department was Deputy Secretary of State Christopher Landau. There was Stephen Miller and others, his advisor on Africa, Masad Boulos. They were on one side of the table. On the other side of the table were 5 presidents, our president included, and the 5 foreign ministers. And each president articulated their points. Of course, the meeting was off camera. You only saw on camera just the opening. And our president did a phenomenal job in articulating the points he wanted to convey. And after he finished his points, our president did something in that room that nobody knows in public. He asked President Trump for his foreign minister to speak. He was the only president that had the foreign minister speak. Every other country, only the president spoke. I spoke for 5 to 7 minutes and exchanged views with President Trump. I didn't say anything different than what President Boyka had said. But the fact is that he gave me that space to do that, that platform. It takes a leader to do that. He gave me that platform, and I was able to exchange with President Trump on the points on critical minerals and maritime security that the president had already spoken to his wing. It's part of that journey. It's part of that journey of engaging with the United States and deepening the discussion. So the discussions that I had with Marco Rubio, Secretary of State and National Security Advisor to President Trump, were just carrying further those discussions that we've been having. In September 25th, I was invited by the U.S., the only one from Africa, invited to be on the panel with Deputy Secretary of State Christopher Landau to speak on asylum and migration issues, where I spoke for Africa, and the fact that the migration issue is not a U.S. issue, it's not a Western issue. On the continent of Africa, we have migration challenges. On the continent of Africa, we have movement between countries and within regions. And so the migration is a global problem that requires shared responsibility and shared solutions. And to have that conversation now go to the White House, where on last week, Thursday, I met with Marco Rubio. We talked about those migration challenges. We talked about critical minerals, job creation. We talked about the UN Security Council. We talked about US priorities on the UN Security Council and what this means and how we can work together with the US and others. The UN Security Council is an area where we're being supported by many countries. The EU countries, France, Sweden, Germany, some of them have been here trying to build capacity. They also see everyone's interested in Liberia because we're going to be at a table with a global voice. We're already observing the room right now, and we start on January 1. And so those are all the discussions that we had with the U.S. We discussed visa issues. We discussed the challenges that they have with us as well. Our overstay is a problem. We're one of the worst countries for overstay. The U.S. even had somebody who they sent to the U.S. for training. The U.S. paid for them to go for training. On the first night, the person left the hotel and disappeared and absconded. These are real issues that we face. And these things affect Liberia, but we discuss all of these issues, how we can work together on overstay, how we can work together on migration, immigration issues, and how we can and look at funding around some of those things, and how we can look at demonstrating that the relationship is being deepened by trying to go back to visa, multi-year visa, and other things. So we know that with this deepening of the relationship, we expect that we'll ask America for more, America will ask us for more as well. We expect that as we deepen the relationship, more will come, and we look forward to that. But it's just to really indicate here today that we're working as the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, everyone together as part of the team, all of the deputy ministers, assistant ministers, all the officers who very rarely get seen. We're all working together. You see recently, Assistant Minister Christiana Cornet, Assistant Minister Jack Foley, Assistant Minister Naomi Gray speaking at the UN for Liberia. being the voice for Liberia. A sense of pride to have women sitting there at the table speaking for Liberia in those different committees. It's collective work of everyone. And it's important for us to know that and know that we have partners along in doing that as well. The US is the US. And everyone wants a good relationship with the US. And I think the steps we've taken from the president's first meeting when he was elected all the way to now is part of that journey in deepening the relationship. We expect for it to get stronger. We expect for it to get better. But I want to thank the president for his vision and thank the president for his trust that was demonstrated, for which now we are reaping the benefits of it. Thank the team also, all the deputies, the assistant ministers, the ambassadors. And I stress the ambassadors because the ambassadors are the foot soldiers in the countries. They are the ones that carry out the day-to-day. And so thanking the entirety, but also the ministers as well. As I said, the load at the General Assembly was so heavy. All of the ministers carried their share, from Minister of Finance to Minister of Gender, Minister of Health. Everybody carried the load of all those different meetings and engagements in Liberia came out stronger. We're at a new place now as a country. We're at a new place globally. We're at a new place on the continent. We represent Africa, one of Africa's 2 seats. And I think this is the time for us to be very proud. I'm proud also that Liberia now has ECOWAS representative. Councillor will be going out to represent us, to be ECOWAS representative to Togo. It's a pride for Liberia. These are all steps of pride for us as a country. As we work together, we'll continue to look at how we strengthen and deepen our relations, and look at how we continue to engage. And relationships are about give and take. We have to give, and we have to also take. Others will give, also others will take. But it's a relationship. It cannot be one-sided. We cannot only see these relationships, these global relationships, as one-sided. Lastly, I would say one of the things we've done in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which is very important, passports, is we decentralized. And decentralizing passports not only domestically, is abroad as well. And we're looking at Canada, Australia, other places who can have consulates and so forth, so that Liberians have access to their rights in a faster and a more efficient way. And so that doesn't mean that opening consulate in Canada doesn't mean visas here at home. It means that our citizens, where they are, will have access to services. Thank you so much for the engagement. Okay, so we will only take
folks, Sprong TV, currently at the Foreign Ministry, where the Minister of Foreign Affairs addressed the media.
Yes.
Well, my name is Augustine Octavius and I work for Prime FM. Minister, during your presentation, you said that the American government will be concerned about Liberians who travel and limitation of visiting and do not make any plan of coming back. Were you able to obtain the number of Liberians who have traveled and did not make any intention of returning?
So I don't have the full number with me, but we do have the statistics I can share at a later time. I don't have it with me here in this conference, but we are one of the countries of most concern on the continent for overstay. And it's something that we all have to work on together. We're planning, in fact, Assistant Minister already has a media plan, working with MICAS. We're planning to do more with a jingle that's been prepared already, it's been aired. We're planning to do more airing of the jingle to tell people the dangers that it poses to our relationship and to the country for others to get visa when they overstay. So it's a media campaign we're planning to do, and we're looking forward to rolling it out even more, so that we really message out. And I think the impact that person who the US themselves carried to the States, who have shown that impact was very, very bad for us as a country. We'll continue to work on it. Thanks.
Yeah, so my name is Yanti, Toba report for OKFN. Amidst all of these meetings that you've been having, and a lot of people read the press statement from the U.S. State Department, given that the U.S. had specific focus on the issue about trade, and then they talk about mineral. And is this something all along that, though, that the U.S. Embassy has been commending the government, especially with what is happening with the HPS issue? Is this something that the U.S. specifically want in return? That given all along that when you talk about when the press statement was raised about there's multiple visa as well, and a lot of issues has been raised, what specifically has the U.S. been saying with regards to that?
As it relates to critical minerals, as you know, I think you heard us, President Walker, when he said it to President Trump, that we want to partner with the U.S. on critical minerals. President Walker himself indicated it to President Trump, and so our discussions are follow-on to that discussion of the president. And President Walker asked them to partner with us to do a full survey, because the last full survey of our country was done in the 70s by the U.S. Geological Service. And so we asked them to partner with us so we have a full picture. Although there was a survey recently, in recent years, by one of our other partners, it wasn't complete. It wasn't for the entire country. But we'd like to know the full scope of our minerals. And of course, inviting U.S. companies to partner in relation to that. And this discussion that I had with Secretary of State Marco Rubio was about that. And one of the things I really liked that he said was about value addition, and that the engagement should be mutually beneficial to both countries. And looking at how we have value addition at home and how we create jobs at home. So that was something we both agreed on, and I think it was a follow-on to the President's conversation with President Trump, which we intend to take forward. Any more questions?
So lastly, then, before you go, this issue has been making rounds, especially in the public, where in recent time we see maybe there, for example, Ghana is also receiving some folks who have been deported. Has that issue of such been raised to you? Maybe probably that one day it might be heard in the news that Liberia will either be receiving some of the deportees, maybe for something to work out for the country. Is this something that have come to your attention?
Liberia is now deepening a relationship with the U.S. So if it were to be asked tomorrow, I wouldn't be surprised, because the U.S. is asking partners. So I wouldn't be surprised. I can't say no. But what I can say is that in the future, if they ask us, we wouldn't be surprised because of the deepening of the relationship and us partnering on immigration issues. And what I can also say is that the immigration discussion is a global one with all of the partners working together.
Yes, okay, so my name is Demi Yes, and I work for the Daily Observer newspaper. So I'd like to know from you, Madam Minister, whether there is a time frame for this mineral survey.
That's a very good question. Thank you for the question, and that's something we'll be engaging on in the next few days in terms of timing. Because when President Walker first made the request in July, we were told to give the State Department a little bit of time, because the State Department was formulating a team within the Department of State just to look at critical minerals. So we'll be following up with them the next few days on timing, and we'll definitely let you know. Any questions? Thank you so much. Anything you want to add? No? Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Sa Fox6.tv, berbagi info Sara Beyslow, Foreign Affairs, what the Minister of Affairs addressed the media. Thank you.